Call this meeting to order. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to the Selectboard meeting of August 17th, month half over. First up, minutes of the Selectboard meeting of August 3rd.
Move to accept.
Second.
Any questions, concerns, errors? Seeing none, all those in favor? It's unanimous. Public comment. We got plenty of public. Any comment? Barry?
Will there be an update for the Gilbert Street extension?
It's on the agenda.
Thank you, sir.
Number 4, item 4. Any other? Seeing none. Recreation Department items. We're looking for public comment on the parks and facilities use policies. Anybody in the public look at them?
They banned everybody, but just select people can use the park. Is that okay?
If
Just checking.
Okay. So I guess we'll go on to considerations of the parks facilities use policy amendments.
I thought it's fine with what we saw last week.
Nothing's changed.
No, yeah.
So is that a motion?
So make a motion, we accept those policies as proposed.
I second that.
Questions, Keith?
No.
All those in favor? Unanimous. Request for funds from the Recreation Trust Fund.
So what I have up here is the Recreation Department was granted $360,000 by anonymous donor. I believe and I don't remember what it was, before we put it into the trust fund, that we had spent some of the funds and we had put $312,000 in the trust fund on August 1st, 2019. Then we made payments over the course of 3 years for the Recreation Department building and also for docks and recreational equipment. So that's the wrong one. So at this time, as of today's date, there's $304,657 in the account. We have one more payment to make on the, I believe it's on the building. That payment amount is $40,745.33 to give a total in that trust fund of $263,881.82. Yes.
What was the original number that they were donating?
Well, the original number they were donated was $360.
360? Okay.
What I didn't look at was to see what the very first thing was that they purchased before we put the money into here.
Didn't we take our initial payment out of that?
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think is what we
and
did.
then we put it in, and we actually did very well. I mean, we had like 40,000 times 3 years, and then we also did 34,000 times 3 years that we made the payments on it. What the Recreation Department has asked for the next funding that they would like to ask for out of this account is to be able to purchase a generator out of that account for $5,500.
Questions?
No, I'll make a motion, we give them the $5,500.
For the generator?
Yeah.
Yes, I second that motion.
Discussion.
Where is it going and what is it going to do?
So the generator is going to go in the office part of the building. It's like, for example, this past year, and it's happened more than once, especially being in an area where there's trees and stuff like that. They lost their power for 3 or 4 days. And, you know, of course, that could freeze up the water in the bathrooms and other things, no heat or anything else in that building.
So this is only running the new building.
The new
When you say
building-
office, I think he still has an office in both. I don't know if that's true.
No,
or
he
not.
doesn't. I mean, they use the lodge in the summertime, and like Renee and the other employees are up there. But Frank's office, he did keep in the ice skate recreation office building. So that's where we would like to put the generator.
And that's all it's going to run, is just the
It's
one
just
building?
that, because the other buildings, they close down in the wintertime. They don't keep that lodge running. They don't keep the...
No, but I'm assuming he intends to use a generator year-round, not only in the winter, so.
Oh, yeah, if they need it, but it will only run that,
It's only 12 kW.
right?
Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? It's unanimous.
You're all set.
Already got it?
But while Frank's here, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. Saviello.
So, for the first time in about 30 years, because my kids all left, I got to go to the park with my granddaughter. I want to tell you how great a job you have done keeping that park up. I was absolutely, hadn't been there, and I know all the things we voted on, was absolutely impressed. So thank you, and to your whole group for the work they've done.
Lots of people this summer have said similar things.
It is, for a little, 15-month-old, the playground, the little playground, she loved it. She loved the big one, but didn't last long on it. But I just want to tell you, the beach, the dock, the grounds were outstanding, and I want to thank you for doing that.
Appreciate it. We tried.
You do good.
And a lot of that was from those trust funds. Plus all the work they do.
Well, that was easy enough.
Always take credit.
Now head down and check out the concert that's going on.
Moving on to 6 Gilbert Street. Charlie?
Yeah, do you want to start?
Charlie, you want to start off, please?
Yeah.
I do have his timelines.
I'm that too.
I'll pass it
So
around to
I wrote
everybody.
a document and just was working on it today. And really this property is occupied by Cindy
And you can
Cook
go to-
Hasty.
What's that?
Right, and she and her husband had owned it. And he died in November, okay, and it's mobile home. She had the septic opened up on the 6th of July by Harris and Harris Septic Service, right? And it's a metal tank, and metal tanks, yeah, they were used in the past, and they fail, and it has kind of 2 lines going out of it like that, so that's not draining properly, so it's a failure of a septic field. So, and this does happen in the town of Wilton quite often. It's probably 3 or 4 a year. I can name you and show you. There was just another septic redone on Well Road. So it does go through it. I think some of you have even had experiences where you've had to have that done. So it's in the process. They pumped it on the 6th of July. They also pumped it on the 9th of August. And it's staying contained. She's cut down on the usage. Yeah, there was a RV on the site. Yeah, there was a bit. Recently today, we put a better cover on it that the town highway crew made up. And we put it on, covered that with dirt, and it's got a hatch. So Harris is coming by and checking it, and they checked it again this week. And are keeping an eye, and it has not come out. And so this has become, I think Hines has gotten in, he's had to test water, because there is a path that this could take, and Barry pointed it out to me, that's right, if it comes down their driveway and goes into the ditchway on Route 2, east and west, there is a pathway, there's a culvert under the highway, then it comes out, it comes further down, comes on to Lake Road, running between 36 and 44, and that's just past where Bass Park is. Well, okay, Barry will correct me, but I know where there's a culvert there, or not, okay. You'll correct us.
Well, if we can
You'll correct
continue
me.
with Charlie's report
Let me
first,
get
please.
through it, and then you
It's
can tell me where I'm
36
wrong.
in Bass Park. There's another one closer to the swimming pool.
But it's on the 44 side of 36.
But if we could continue
All right.
to the board,
No,
please.
that's not correct.
So, where I'm kind of going with it is we've been keeping an eye on it, not seeing anything septic, effluent coming out and going this path. How a septic system works is it goes into the tank and there is bacteria and such that work on it, the solids settle, and the idea is just the effluent, and it is marginally got microbes and such in there. That goes out into the leach field and drains down. And Tom can probably tell me a lot better, and Heinz can too. I'm kind of new to this, I work mostly on mechanical equipment. But anyway, we've been keeping an eye, nothing's coming out of the ground. We've got paths going. Western Maine Community Action has gotten a site evaluator, which is what you have to do when you're getting a septic system redesigned or even a new one put in. You go and hire a site evaluator, he designs it for you based on your soil and your water usage and such. And then if there's no sewer nearby, you have to do your septic system. So Cindy is in the process of having that done through Western Maine Community Action. The state also has small community grants that the town would have to be more involved with, and it ends up being some filings at the Registry of Deeds, and I believe a lien and so forth too. But that's all a possibility. So there's two paths to get a septic system for her, and I expect it could be done by October. And that would be, because quite often it takes quite a bit longer than that. So that's kind of where we're at.
And they called her today too.
Western Maine Community Action, right. They had a site evaluator in there 2 weeks ago, and he's probably done with the design. He comes, gets a permit, they get bids, we're doing the work, and then the excavator contractor schedules it and does it. Unfortunately in hers, it'll have to be a pump station, so it's a tank with electric pump, which we have similar outside this building here, if we were to use it, and it would pump it up to the field, and she's gonna have to have a lot of trees cut down, so. I've told you pretty much everything I know about the project, and it's quite an interesting one.
Thank you. Heinz, can you talk about the testing you've been doing?
I met with Barry over there, and him and Mark took some E. coli samples. So they gave us the results. We went up, and the first time we tested up below the wrong culvert. Met back with Barry over there. We walked through. He showed me where they took their tests. We went through and took them. I got the results here. I shared all those with Barry. The results were very low. And there's actually no water, no liquid coming out of the culvert that Barry's talking about. We were up there a week ago Monday, and the night before we had 1.6 inches of rain here in Wilton. If that was truly overflowing, we would have seen it, as we had discussed. We found nothing along the side of the road, nothing there down to the culvert. In the section below Route 2, between Route 2 and the Lake Road, in that section of the woods through there is some nasty looking stuff, but it's not sewer. And when you touch it, you pick it up, I grab handfuls of it. If it was sewer, it would smell. We tested it, it wasn't, and that's that.
Anybody on the board have any questions?
Robin's.
So, you said Western Maine Community Action, Charlie, there's a grant application with them, correct?
Excuse me?
Did you say Western Maine Community Action is involved somehow?
Yes, they have funds. They helped out a number of citizens in the town of Wilton with septic field replacements. There was one done on McGrath Road, Pleasant View Heights, and thinking that was last year. McGrath Road, I think, was the year before. But they have some funds available, and they do assist with that.
Is it
I
part of
don't
their?
know all the details of it.
Okay.
Okay?
But I believe Cindy's been approved. for that and the state one, so 2 separate ones.
It's a parallel path, and we have to choose which we really follow.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the board?
Rhonda, can you go back up to show the E. coli number?
So the first,
Yes.
the first one, Heinz said, the one on the 6th was taken in the wrong locations,
Correct.
correct?
So that doesn't.
So if we go down to the 9th, this was at Wilson Lake, close to the culvert across from the red house. And that, do you go with the total number, Heinz?
Yes, yeah.
The 12.
Those are the numbers, those are the way the system works.
Can you go back up to the one that was the wrong one first, for a second? So you had 31 and 8 there? In the
No,
final-
those weren't, those are, the way it works is it comes in, it's a tray, and it has 99 cells, and there's 49 big cells, and 48 small with a master cell on top. So that's what that is. So you go through and you count up, because back just 5 years ago, to do E. coli, it was a lot more pain in the butt to do, because we had to incubate them, and then I had to sit down and I had to count the petri dishes and how many you find on each side of the 4 of the lines in each quadrant. I don't care how many times you count, somebody always calls. It's so much easier to only just look through, all right, there's so many big, so many small, and they have a chart that you go through and it comes, and it tells you it's 59.8 or 12 or whatever the final number is.
So now this is at the right site, correct?
This is at the culvert, close to the culvert, across from the red house. And this one was taken in the woods.
Correct, in the woods. That was up by the root, or not the root, I'm sorry, the stump that Barry pointed out and left a marker on. We weren't able to get anything there because there was no liquid under the stump. So we went up about 10 feet, and Barry was okay with us going to a spot where there was liquid. And we took it there, and then we went up farther. The spot number 2 was up by just below the culvert, coming across underneath Route 2.
Tiffany?
So Heinz, can you tell me what these numbers mean? I mean, they're just numbers to me, so I don't know.
So
you know.
the final E. coli number are colonies of E. coli.
Yeah, so
that's-
what would be like a number that would be concerning and a number that is, which,
You can, all right, I'm allowed by permit to put in, on any given day, into Wilson Stream, 122 with any maximum 1 day a month of 988. So, pretty much anything over a couple hundred they want to start looking at. I go through and I test Kennewater Park, the swimming, where the kids do all the lessons. I test there for Frank, and when he doesn't hear from me, and we've had nothing but, I think I had one that was 13 this year. The rest have all been single digits. So, and that's just any big beach, anything around the state, the towns check them just to make sure that there's not an issue. And this year, up until this month, there wasn't a whole lot of rain. And the way the lagoon is set up, water will just sit there and recirculate, so then you'll get high numbers. And so that's why we always check them, because we want to make sure they're good to go.
thank you.
So let me see, so go back to the first one, please. Bear with me, I'm trying to
The
figure.
date of the 9th,
The first one that went to the wrong site. So the first one, the wrong site, go down. Your total, this is at the wrong site, correct?
Correct, 167.
So that's getting up there.
That's getting up there, yes, but that was also, so it's not the head of I always call it the head of the lake, but I'm not from this town. It's really the bottom of the
Right.
lake, where the retaining wall is. It's where everything just works its way down and then works its way out the stream. So we got that just below where that little parking area is, right below Gilbert Street itself. There's a pipe that comes out there, so I miscommunicated to my crew, and they went there.
So it's the wrong site, though.
It was the wrong
It
site.
wouldn't say the effect of the septic system at that site, correct? The failure of this?
I wouldn't, no. What was, I'm sorry.
See, so I'm trying to sort this out. If the septic system had failed, is this a good site to measure to see whether we have?
It would have been in that whole section. It would have been anywhere in there. But I wanted to get a sample as close to the culvert pipe that Barry pointed out. So that's why I went and got a second one when he showed me which culvert he was talking about. Then that's why I went took a lake sample from there, because there was no liquid coming out of that one. The other sample pipe, there was liquid coming out. Not much, just a tiny drip, but there was at least some liquid coming out of it.
Okay, so now the next site is one that's closer, Barry had pointed out to you where to go, correct?
Yes,
And so you're seeing 59.8 there,
yes.
okay?
No, 12.
12 there, the 59.8 was,
In the woods.
yeah.
In the woods.
No, the 59, go up a little bit more. That's the Gilbert Street location. So that was,
On the
they took that from what was coming out of that pipe.
Okay,
I wanted them, I said if there was any liquid coming out of the culvert itself, to test that directly, and then to test the lake itself. So that was coming out of that culvert pipe.
okay, and then the next one?
All right, so that is the appropriate location, the one that Barry was talking about.
Okay,
And that was that was out within a couple of feet of the pipe.
okay,
And then the next two were the wood sample, where I wanted to get spots near where him and Mark took their samples as best as we could. And again, it was Monday, and it was the day after all of that rain. There would have been, if it was truly overflowing, there would have been residual,
you would have seen it.
yes.
Okay.
Anything else from the board? Barry?
I hadn't planned on speaking tonight.
But you do it eloquently.
Well, thank you. And is this all this board has for information from your people? Can they add any more? Because I'm about to.
Add away.
Can I approach that bench?
Sure.
Now, I wanted to correct Charlie. I like Charlie. He and I get along pretty good most of the time. But what you're looking at in these photographs is not between 44 and 36.
It's by that empty vacant lot.
No,
Right.
sir. No,
So let's
it's
just,
It is not. Let me tell
Barry,
you
it's your
what-
turn to speak.
Okay.
This culvert that drains that sewerage is between Bass Park and 36. It is probably the distance from that wall to the swimming area. I used to walk this road when I was a kid, day back and forth to school. I know this area. This was my backyard. You're looking at between Bass Park and 36. Now between there, within steps from Bass Park, is a stream, creek. You can follow it up, and it drains out under Route 2, which goes across Route 2 to a ravine, and then up the hill is Gilbert Street. I found this with a gentleman who helped me track this stream. And again, it's not between 44 and 36. It's between 36 and Bass Park. And he said, look at this. I said, yeah. You know what that looks like to me? You want to know what that looks like to me? I love Wilson Lake. May I have this? I want the camera to see it. I wasn't going to speak tonight, but if sewer is running into the lake,
It's
that's
not
my
sewer,
lake.
Barry. It's not sewer. I showed it to you while we were there.
You hear that? This is the facts you have. I'm about to tell you what it is.
So Barry, did you test that? And what did you?
After finding it, the very next day I drove to Augusta and I went to the chemist,
Yeah.
DHHS. And I said, I would like to test this material. I think it looks like sewage. And I talked to the chemist and he said, and he turned to the receptionist and said, he needs such and such test. I said, I want to test the swimming area too. Well, you need the swim test, the water test he's talking about, the water test. I want to know what this is. And I wanted to be able to put some bales of hay in the creek. Charlie went up himself and put a bale of hay in the ravine across the road. I hand carried and I took this test. He will tell you if you just slide your finger inside the test bottle, you can contaminate it. Well, I guarantee you, I don't have preliminarily or predominantly raw sewage on my finger, but I didn't even stick my finger in the test tube. I dug down into these two places, this material, scooped some sand up, and the test results was primarily raw sewage.
What did they tell you? How did
The count for one of the chloroform was over 24,000. E. coli was 717.
2,400, not 1,000.
24,000 something something, quote unquote.
Do we have the test
It's
results?
I sent it to
Yeah,
Ron.
it's on my desk.
Why didn't your people tell you the whole truth?
Because Barry,
Sewage is in the lake.
Barry,
to raise
stop
up
it. Just take it easy. We're trying to sort this out, okay?
Yeah,
So I haven't seen the site. I'll go look at it because raw sewage coming out of a septic tank does not look like that.
it tested that.
I don't care. It doesn't look like that.
It tested that.
I don't care what it tested.
Okay,
at.
let's get it back under control, please.
I can't go on anything else but what the chemist told me.
Well, you specifically said you took a sample from one spot and a sample from another spot.
Well,
So
these
right
two
there,
places.
you have completely contaminated both spots, and both of your spots are no good that way. That's why I went up with multiple bottles to do multiple spots.
You tested for water.
Yes,
You
you
tested
don't
the
put
water.
solids in those, Barry.
I was
told you
looking
that.
for
I know
sewage.
you know everything, but you don't test for solids. You put solids in those, you screw up the whole test. I was just on the phone with IDEX today, going over it with them, and I
Is
asked
your
them the
expert
same
telling
thing.
you that's not sewer? The
It's
chemist in
not.
Augusta, told me it's primarily sewer.
In the woods.
All right, so how about the fact that when me and you walked up and where that culvert from Route 2 came out, we went about 50 feet off to the side and up, and that same material is coming out
Okay,
of
so
the
let's-
road.
Oozing out of the side.
Let's get the
So how is
conversation
that
back under
sewage?
control. One person speaks at a time. Barry, do you have any other evidence that this,
It's raw sewage.
I'm not debating that with you,
Yeah.
that it's coming from 6 Gilbert Street?
Only that the creek.
Because that's the concern, is 6 Gilbert Street.
Right.
Do we have absolute evidence that, say this is sewerage,
It is.
that it is coming from 6 Gilbert Street?
I have to, I don't know what you call conclusive evidence, but if you have a failing septic system that's higher up from the creek, and there's a definite flowage pattern down, and there's a culvert right there from the ravine leading under the road towards this creek.
From my
I can't-
perspective, if we've got raw sewage like that, you should be able to track it back up to its source.
Nothing went through, nothing was on the other side of the culvert on Route 2.
Okay.
Everything was oozing out of the side of the road.
But listen, Charlie went up and put a bale of hay on that side of the road to prevent it from coming down. Because it
You know
could.
when you know when I did it? Friday. When did you take your sample?
Oh, these were like 4 and 5.
This past Friday. That's when I did it. The bale of hay.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna move on. We had comment over here?
It is not coming from 6 Gilbert.
Okay, Charlie, we'll get back to you. Yes, ma'am.
So I also spoke with the chemist in Augusta, and he said that the sample, and I wish that we did have that today to put up on the screen what the test results were.
I'll go do it.
That'd be great, Rhonda, thank you. He said that those test results were 10 times diluted, and it caused quite a stir in the lab. And so I think my recommendation to the board would be, could we get an outside independent consultant to test that whole area? And that way it's not in-house testing versus what a resident is taking for a test, someone that can conclusively give us an answer, what is coming out of that creek.
Keith?
Are there any buildings at all on this side of Route 2 anywhere near where that stuff is? David asked specifically if we knew it came from there. My question is there anything on this side that might be a problem?
There's no other building.
There's no buildings on this side anywhere near that area?
There's no other buildings.
Tiffany?
So, I mean, where it came from at this point here, you know, I would like to know what that is, and if it is a public health hazard, and to find out I'm not saying it's from 6 Gilbert Street, it's not from 6 Gilbert Street, but if that, I can't tell, I'm not a, you know, a sewage person, if that's sewage or not, but is it really something that we need to look at? If it is a public health hazard, that we figure out where it's coming from.
Correct.
That's, you know, I don't want to start putting fingers, it's coming from here, there. If there's a problem, let's identify what the problem is and let's move forward is my suggestion on figuring out what the problem is, where it's coming from, instead of, you know, I'm not saying we're drawing conclusions, but if we don't know whether or not it's coming from 6 Gilbert Street or not, but we do know that there is something like that, and I'd like to have it taken a look at to figure out what it is and if it is a health problem.
I sent Rhonda the test results for this material.
She's getting it.
She's gone upstairs.
It's 24,000 something for chloroform. It's 717 for E. coli. That doesn't mean anything to me either. So I asked the chemist, what is that? He says it's primarily raw sewage.
So, David, can I ask, so Heinz, just explain to me, when you take a sample, you can't get solids in the sample jar, correct?
No, but I was only testing for E. coli. I don't have the ability to test for coliform.
So, but when you test for coliform, do you put a solid in there?
I don't know.
So
I don't know.
it's something I'd like to find out too.
That's something the ones on the coast deal with. I don't want to say, because I don't know.
The chemist was specific. He said, swim area for water, this one for sewage.
I understand, Barry.
Okay.
What I'm asking is the sample procedure.
So Barry, if you could have a seat, please, and then we'll...
So what I
Thank you very
would like to get from the lab, so Rhonda, if you want to ask, I'd like to have the procedure for taking the sample. Because is it a liquid sample or is it solids? If it's solids, you have a whole different set of results, and which may be absolutely right. But I want to understand the procedure that one uses to do the testing.
Procedure for taking what?
The sample that Barry took, coliform, what was it? Coliform and E. coli, correct?
So solids. Mark?
So, I know the sewer department has a concentrated color dye that they use to trace leaks. Can we place that colored dye in the septic tank so we know where it's leaking? If it's gonna weep out through, that colored dye should trace through.
Heinz, will our dye carry through the soil? We did that at the mill, exactly what you're talking about. It's a great idea, Mark.
If there's this place where it's short circuiting through, yes, it will, because that's what I use to test if people are actually, where they're hooked up and stuff like that. We don't know where their lateral's coming out. We'll put that dye in and to see where it comes out.
Can we do that?
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea, Mark. Thank you. We used to do that at the mill a lot. And it would bubble up someplace we didn't expect, but yeah. So I think that's a great idea. Before we go spend the money chasing it around, I think let's start with that. It's pretty easy to do.
Well, I would think that it would be worthwhile for the town to set a plan, make sure that we're maintaining the tank pumped out,
Yeah.
and do any appropriate testing, even if it means bringing in a third party to do some testing. And then we work with the resident to assist her in making it habitable. Rhonda?
So, just following up as far as making the plan, she has had it emptied a couple of times on July, oops, that's the old one. She's had it done on July 6th, and then again on August 9th. And at that time, the technician, August 9th, which was last week, did not see any sewage on the ground or any signs of it. Based on the current usage and condition of the system, we recommend monthly septic tank cleanings until the septic system is replaced. The owner went back up today to check it. The owner of the septic company went back up today to check it, called us, let us know where it is. So everybody's in communication. I don't know if the homeowner has any comments.
No, I don't.
Okay.
What?
Tiffany?
So I see there's two issues here, and so it seems like we're addressing, you know, the one issue here that I see right now.
At 6 Gilbert Street?
6 Gilbert Street is the one issue, and it seems like pumping it out, keeping it consistent there, and a plan moving forward is a good direction. And the second issue is this other substance, and even if it's not related to 6 Gilbert Street, I still think, you know,
Needs to be
needs to
investigated.
be investigated, and then if there is a correlation between the two, then we can figure out. I like Mark's idea about the dye as well, but I'd like to propose that we have that investigated as well, even if it doesn't have anything to do with 6 Gilbert Street. I still, if it's raw sewer, just
It's an issue,
Yes,
potential.
thank you.
Question?
Go ahead.
Barry?
Can we put some bales of hay in that creek? So if we do have a flushing rain, that material doesn't get into the lake? That's all I care about. I don't want it in the lake.
Right.
Can we put some bales of hay to stop it? Because it does fetch up, and these are low spots, basins, if you will.
Yep.
Yeah, if we could just put straw or bales of hay, and if that had been done 3 weeks ago, you wouldn't have seen me.
Okay. Tom?
Can we get the road crew to put a couple bales of hay in there tomorrow?
Yeah, in the same spot where there already is a bale of hay?
No,
In a
across the
different
road,
spot?
down towards the lake. This is where these samples are
Between
taken
Bass
from, across
Park
the road, towards the lake, along that creek.
Between Bass Park and 36?
Yes, sir.
I
Exactly.
think that's what I heard you saying.
No, that's exactly where it is.
Keith?
But both pictures are on the same stream, correct?
Yeah,
So if they're
probably-
low enough down, they'll get both of those. We don't need to
Right.
place them in 2 different locations is what I'm asking.
No, if you get lower towards Lake Road, you'll get both of those, which are a little bit up closer to the Route 2. Yeah. Walk pretty much the whole length, and that's where it's concentrated, up near Route 2.
Heinz, is the dye something that you folks could get into the septic tank? Trace dye?
I mean, we can pour it in and then,
It's gonna be raining in theory in a couple of days, so. And I realize the tank got, it appears in the picture that it got closed up pretty well at this point.
Is so we're assuming if the tank's leaking, so do we know the integrity of the tank itself?
no, sir.
Because the other thing is to try to put it into the discharge pipe, the dye in the discharge pipe. But see, whatever way you can do it.
That's plugged up. The discharge pipe is plugged
Oh,
up.
it's plugged up.
The-
Okay, so it doesn't work.
They told me it was.
Okay,
And that's why the tank is filling up so fast, because
there's nothing going
because the
on.
pipe for the effluent, which your typical, your leach field is plugged up, so that's why all of the water fills up the tank.
Up back?
Yes, I'm moving out, soon, and I live with Cindy, and I'm just upset because she gets upset about everything that's going on. And she's got a nervous problem, and it shouldn't upset her when she's trying to live there and she doesn't bother anybody.
Well, I will say that the town will take the approach of helping make the place habitable so that hopefully it will
She's trying
relieve some
hard to
stress.
do it, but she's only got just so much money.
Yep. And that's why it's important to work with Western Maine for these grants.
And
So-
she is, but she doesn't understand a lot of stuff, so I'm helping her out.
And it's appreciated. Anything else? Yes.
I just wanted to say thank you for finally covering the cesspool today. It's been 6 weeks, and so please understand frustration on our level of trying to work with the town. I know I made 3 asks of the town these last 6 weeks. I said I want transparency, I want open lines of communication, and I want an action plan with tangible results. And so, again, please understand my frustration that it took 6 weeks to get this properly covered after we had reached out to DEP and they had said that this was an emergency hazardous situation that needed immediate attention by the town of Wilton. So I'm glad that we're seeing things done today, but how do we prevent this moving forward? How do we have action plans in place to make sure that we're dealing with things appropriately?
So I have a question. You said 6 weeks ago. So what was the date that you started this?
17th.
July?
Mark reached out to Charlie on July 1st and said that the
So on
problem was
July 6th, had our septic system pumped out the tank. To me, that's an action item that took place right after your complaint.
I'm sorry, Tom.
On July 6th, the tank was pumped out. You called July 1st. July 6th, the tank was pumped out for the first time. Seems to me that's a pretty prompt response, because you still have to figure out how to pay for that and get it all done.
So July 17th, when we went up there, we took photos of a very full tank. And
Yeah,
that's
it
when we
keeps
started
filling up with water.
communication with the town.
Again, if it in a tank, probably it's
And I don't want nobody on, I don't want certain people on my property
I understand.
anymore.
so is it
It's
probably
none
a
of their
500?
business.
It's about a 500-gallon tank, Heinz, do you think, if that?
Approximately. I don't know the depth. I haven't.
Neither am I. I can go through that calculation.
It shouldn't have stunk.
So we have a plan in place of how we're gonna address it, and we'll work with the property owner to
We have.
whatever,
We'll
right?
continue on.
So we're gonna, may I just walk through it? We're gonna do the dye.
Yep.
Yep.
And we're gonna contact somebody, figure out who's third party. We probably could work with the geology group that we've been working with on the tannery. Not tannery, on the.
Foster.
Yeah, Foster. And that we'll continue to pump the tank out until we get it rectified
Bales of hay.
and bales of hay. So those are the action items that are in place.
So the testing is for the other area, not for 6 Gilbert Street, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay.
It's the other area.
Because it's
And
too,
in theory, we got rain coming, they're talking, what, tomorrow and Thursday potentially. So if there's leaching going into the tank and coming out with the dye in tomorrow, then we might see some.
It's on my phone.
correct, but just want to make sure that, because when you add the two together, like Tom was doing in the statements, it just makes it a little more, so I just want to make sure. So we're doing hay and testing at one location, and we're doing dye at the other, and making sure it
Correct.
maintains the pumping.
Two separate
And we'll
issues.
still continue to work to get a set replacement system in
Correct.
place.
And that's been moving on pretty quickly.
Good. Anything else before we move on? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, there's a certain pole in my driveway, and I have the right of way to that. And she took pictures.
That would probably sounds like a civil matter. That it's not at the level of the select board.
So what will we do about it?
There must be some, legal
Legal services.
legal
Just
services.
back out of the driveway.
From that pine tree legal.
Pine tree legal.
Okay.
Okay.
Pine tree
Yeah.
legal?
Yep,
Okay.
start with that.
We'll call Paul. We'll get rid of it.
All right, very good. So we all set to move on? Board, you all set to move on? Thank you, folks.
And it's like,
Was the fire chief coming?
No, because I forgot to tell him.
Okay. So we'll push that off to next week.
Go.
Blueberry Fest recap, Mr. Saviello. Well, I think it's safe to say, thanks to everybody's help in this room, it was a success. I thank my judges, thank you very much, appreciate that. I appreciate donation of the maple syrup. What's that? Who's doing that?
Somebody's phone's ringing.
Oh, it's a phone, okay, I thought it was this.
It's back there, right? Okay.
And for Tiffany for her work helping me with the parade. But this was truly a community effort. From Rhonda to Scott at the Chamber of Commerce, to myself, to Jeff Chesson, and I think
Renee.
and Renee. Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely. Everything I've heard was a huge success. The Kenyawatta was loaded with children all day long, pretty much. Downtown, Charlie, Heinz, can you take that outside? It was doing the parade. I just tell you that coming down that, I felt there were more people than I've seen in a long, long time. So you've got the budget number roughly. We ran over a little bit, but with our donations, we're going to be fine. But something we should put on an agenda item for the future to talk about what we want to do with that money that's over. We also need to decide what we're going to do about the future, in the sense that we needed a 501c3 so that some could make charitable contributions. Like Walmart had to make a charitable contribution, they could not give it to the town. And we ended up getting all kinds of supplies for them, like canned cream and water and so forth. And LEAP was kind enough to step up and be the fiduciary person for us to do that. However, there is a corporation that exists that we've been told we can have? Do we want to continue that so there's a place for that money to be given to? Or do we want to do something different? But that's all a conversation that needs to take place at a later date. We just need to now relax, and we got it done. We did it thanks to, again, to the select people. You guys were phenomenal by the support that was there. And as I say, everything I've heard has been positive. Very, very thankful that we had it. Very thankful that it was free in a sense. I don't really have much more to say. Tiff or Rhonda, you guys were, again, thank you for being judges at the last minute. Very much appreciated. And thanks for the answer very quickly. I made it as simple as I possibly could for you. Just the top one, the next one, and the next one.
So I heard nothing but positive. And I think part of it goes, the hard work that you folks did in a short time, but it also goes back to the foundation of the Blueberry Festival that Shannon Smith did for the last, 20 years or whatever it was. So the foundation was there, and then you built upon it, and hopefully we're able to continue in whatever fashion it ends up being, but to keep growing it for the town.
Yeah, I'll just chime in and say that I really enjoyed both aspects of the actual Blueberry Festival and what you're saying by going back to the roots. It's nice to see the community instead of having, I like the idea. We definitely need to talk about an umbrella, whatever it's going to be, committee, corporation, or whatever else. But it was really nice to have the town come together and the people come together and all pitch in, people just showing up to help out. And going back and reading the history of this, where it all started, it felt like we were almost reinventing it again. So I was extremely pleased, and thank you, Tom. Thank you, the board. Thank you for all the town members and everybody else, the contributors. It was just a wonderful event.
David, and I'm remiss, and I should have started with this, if it wasn't for our police force, our road crew, and our rec department,
And fire.
and fire department, this would have been impossible. They knew what to do, just like you said, the foundation, they took care of it. My cell phone, I had it on and it didn't call me, so I thought was a good sign.
I had the wrong number.
Oh, you did? But I, as I say, when I looked down the street and saw all the vendors lined up, that was my dream. I wanted to see it like a medieval party. And I think people were so starved to get outside and do something. They did it. One of the things that we've got to work on, we only had really about 5 real floats in it. The rest were the Shriners and the rest were the fire trucks. And I did everything I could in sending them out so that you didn't have 5 fire trucks in a row and the 5 Shriners. I was told it lasted an hour. I have no idea. Let me just tell you, I was sore and tired after you, and then, but it was, anyway, it was a good day. It was a really good community effort and much appreciated. But we have some work, and I got to think about how to best organize it, talking to Scott and Rhonda. We're going to have a review of it next week, and then maybe come back some recommendations to this. Renee was phenomenal. I mean, everything I heard about Kennewatha was just absolute success. And Vera, our new vendor, a new business in town at the old Wells factory, she had 400 people come through her business. 400 people.
Fantastic.
That's great, because she's brand new. And so she really, of course, it was right there at the stop and right at Kennewatha, but that many people came through her business. So, good day. Thank you.
So, what I was showing up there, the expenses and the donations, you've got it, if you go into Sheets, Blueberry Fest.
Okay.
Donate, Blueberry Fest donations, I sent it out a couple weeks ago, they've been added to it. So that, believe, all the expenses are in, all the bills are paid, well, we're still waiting for some of the money to come back to us.
Leap doesn't have any more money.
They haven't given us any.
They say they don't have anything in their account.
Okay, well, we'll be following up.
I talked to Daryl, there's nothing there, so I guess you should check. I think Scott even said that, but I talked to Daryl today, and he was supposed to get back to me if there was any money there. So I just need to know which ones maybe that were supposedly sent to Leap that we didn't get. Because I think they gave us everything they had.
We haven't seen it.
Okay.
Very good. Number 7, to authorize the town attorney to take legal action regarding land use violations on property owned by Timothy Amerson, located on Route 2 East in Wilton, tax map 34, lot 130.
I make a motion that I move that the town attorney is authorized and directed to take any and all action, including, without limitation, the filing of suit in state court that is necessary and appropriate to enforce the town of Wilton zoning ordinance with respect to the sign violations on property owned by Timothy Amerson, located on Route 2 East in Wilton, tax map 34, lot 130.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? It's unanimous. Number 8, consideration of pole permit for Temple Road, 2 new poles.
I believe this is an old pole permit that we probably just didn't get back to them because they've got it dated 4/3/2020. Do you know?
Correct, it is one that we didn't get back, or we never received.
Okay. So
Whereabouts?
it's Morrison Hill Road. Well, they call it Morrison Hill Road. We call it Temple Road. So northerly 690 feet, 2 new poles. So I think they went in last year, and Morrison Hill. They're already there. We just need to sign off on them.
We don't know where they are, but they're already there.
Right, if you can interpret this better than I can. Again, they call it Morrison Hill.
Morrison Hill Road goes off the Temple Road.
Yeah, but CMP and Fairpoint, they call some of the roads a little different than we do.
Well, Morrison Hill actually perpendiculars comes in to the side of Temple Road.
Go back in history, it was Walker Hill.
Was it Walker?
Yeah, actually CMP calls it Walker Hill Road.
No kidding.
They do. It's still in their books as Walker Hill.
I was
So we
born
have-
up there, so.
We have to
I don't-
differentiate.
We have to call it Levitt Hill.
So I need a motion.
And then
to-
motion we accept the pills that are already put in.
Yes.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor? It's unanimous. Manager's report.
Actually, I don't have anything to report on the county municipal collaboration right now. They did have another meeting, but I don't think they did get too far. And we haven't received any new information yet. I can tell you some of the counties, so I was at a manager's meeting last week, some of the counties are distributing most of the funds right out to the towns based on the population. Some of the counties are hiring people to oversee the funds for the entire county, so that all the towns in the county make sure the funds are paid, they purchase things with them that,
Expended appropriately.
thank you, that they spend it
But how can they
appropriately.
distribute it to the towns? Is that legal?
For the counties too,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's when this Biden bucks, they can actually send it to the towns? from
The ARPA funds. The way one of the the counties that I talked to, they're doing like grant applications for some of it with a max based upon, I think it was their population. So they're not going to say, hey, you town, you get 500,000 because we like your grant application, you only get that. They've got a series of things in place for it. And then they're using a small amount for county things, because a lot of it, people might want to fix up a jail or do this, and some of that doesn't fit into the proper expenditures. So, in Franklin County, there's probably a little more work to do. That particular county has sent the information, and we'll see, and it might not. Again, you have until 2026 to spend the money, till 2024 to determine what you want spent on.
Yeah, I've heard of some people that have already made all the determinations.
I know. It's not a good idea.
No, I don't think so either.
And I actually like that idea of, in more than one county is having a person countywide oversee it just to make sure that the towns are spending it correctly and the county's spending it correctly, because you don't want to have to pay that back.
No.
So, and one of the counties is charging like 2% of their each of their totals to help pay for the person that's overseeing it. So there'll be more to come. I'm not throwing out things too much yet because there's plenty of time. We have not received any funding yet either. It'll be the beginning of September.
Tom?
I do have an idea for some of our funding, for the fire station to have one of the electronic signs.
Yeah, it's good.
Instead of putting banners up all the time, put a nice electronic sign up there so that they can do exactly what they need to do out there. But it would be much more professional, and if we can use the money for that, I think that sign out there is very informative to people.
I believe those kinds of signs are appropriate because you want
Communicating to the public.
communicating, no touch, you know, the whole thing. There's other things like that. I'll add it to the list to get started.
Anything else?
Not on that. The auction of the town foreclosed property, it was supposed to occur next Wednesday, but I haven't heard back from Mr. Harris, so it'll probably be in September. So I'll have to get in touch with you. I put that down thinking that it was going to be next week, but he hasn't come to give us any information yet.
Thank you. Keith?
I make a motion, we go into executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA 405-6A personnel.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor?